Get Bozzy YouTube 6-bit hacks here. Happy guys. Today another post narrated replay because the one I uploaded previously was responded to pretty well. So if you guys do enjoy this is a very interesting game. This is a game where if if I had played differently, it probably wouldn't have been anywhere near as good as it is now, if you get what I'm trying to say. So since I'm trying to get back into the game, you will notice that I do kind of make some mistakes in this battle, and if I catch them, I'll try to point them out. But yeah, like I said, this was a pretty good game. If you guys do enjoy, then you know what to do. If you missed my previous upload, a link to that will be down in the description, so you guys can go check that out. Let me know in the comment section below what is your current favorite NU Pokemon to use in the meta game, because I've only had about maybe 10, 15, about 20 at most NU battles within the past couple of days, so I'm still trying to get a little bit of feel of how the meta game really is, and trying to see like what are threats, what works, what doesn't work, and all that shenanigery. But yeah, let me know what you guys like to use in the comment section below. And the team that I am using, I kind of threw together to an extent. I saw a core between Steelix and Gastrodon, so I really wanted to work around that. Then I added AV Hariyama, then I added Scarfed Rotom, Standard Defog Shiftry, and Archeops, which I'm a huge fan of Archeops, so I really did want to try it out. And looking at my opponent's team, it kind of looks like a balanced team. He has two walls in the form of Gastrodon and Weezing, which together are extremely annoying. He has Claydol, which could be just a tank set. Vivian could be Sash lead, just to kind of break Mon's early game. This could be SD or Scarfed Pinsir, and this could just be SD spiking or sub SD Cacturne. Actually, if this is sub SD Cacturne, it does put in the work to my team. And I'll be honest, going into this battle, I really was not concerned about anything on his team, because again, I'm still trying to get into how I used to know the NU tier, so I'm still learning everything again. So I really was not expecting Cacturne to be a huge issue, but you're gonna see that it does actually kind of prove to be a bit of a problem in this match. Vivian could definitely sweep me if he gets up 2 quiver dances, so I really have to watch out for that. Weezing is going to be a tad bit annoying because I don't have anything on my team that likes to be burned, and then if he gets up T-spikes, then my Shiftry is going to be automatically poisoned, and that could be bad for me as well. His Gastrodon is going to be a problem, considering that the only grass type stab move on my team is on Shiftry, so I have to watch out for that, and him potentially switching in Vivian on the Leaf Storm, and then Vivian's faster than me, and then it can just go terribly wrong. But it's been about 3.5 minutes, so let's get this started. So I'm going to be leading off with my Archeops, thinking that he would lead off with his Claydol as he does do so. I'm going to go straight for the U-turn. Now, back in the day, for those of you who don't know, Sash lead Archeops was very popular. And I kind of noticed this in the few games I played with this team, that when I do lead Archeops, people kind of tend to think that it's Scarfed. So I'm not really too concerned about him wanting to go for the Stealth Rocks right away. So I end up switching right into my Shiftry. Unfortunately though, he does kind of... I wouldn't say that was a bad play. I really wouldn't say it was a bad play, because there was a chance I could have just gone for my own rocks as well. But if I was him, I would have predicted an Archeops to go for Taunt. It was kind of a bad play on my part as well, because what I could have done was just stayed in and gone for 2 acrobatics. But when I did that before, Claydol hit me with the Ice Beam, so I was kind of caught off guard there. And I guess it is a little bit of a risky switch to bring in Shiftry if he did want to go for Ice Beam. There was also a chance he could have gone for Toxic, because that happened to me in another match. So I was hoping that if anything, he would go for Toxic and Stealth Rocks and not go for Ice Beam. But he does go for the rocks here, as I'm just going to go straight for the knockoff, expect him to want to bring in the Weezing, because Weezing, like I said, is a huge nuisance to my team. So I'm going to make sure to get rid of that thing's Black Sludge or leftovers. As I bring in my Gastrodon, he reveals to me that he has Pain Split, which means he most likely does not have T-Spikes, which is absolutely amazing for me, as I make a really dumb play here. And I go straight for the Scald. At the time, it kind of didn't click in my head that he had Gastrodon and Cacturne. I was like, he has Gastrodon, he's not going to switch it in right away. If anything, I can burn the switching in Vivillon potentially if he wants to try and set up or put something on my team to sleep. Here though, my best play was to just go for Toxic. There was also the chance that he could have gone for the Will-O-Wisp, so that was also in my mind, but ultimately I think Toxicking would have been the better play, because even if he did stay in to try and burn me, it would be really bad for him to get burned by my Skull, because he's already lost leftovers, and Pain Split really isn't that of a reliable recovery move. So I basically give him a free switch into Cacturne, and I'm thinking, alright, it's a Cacturne, what does the Cacturne even do? He gets a Polaris Spikes, it's fine, I can defog. So I'm gonna bring in my Steelix thinking, alright, I can take a hit, Heavy Slam, and then maybe get a Brox. No, he Swords Dances. This is where I started to panic a little bit, because if my Heavy Slam doesn't knock out this Cacturne, it could potentially put in the work to my team. Unfortunately though, I don't quite knock him out, and because he did reveal to me that he has Drain Punch, I'm hoping that after he does knock me out, he won't be in range of my Fake Out and Bullet Punch from Hariyama failing to knock him out. Luckily though, I am going to be able to knock him out with the Fake Out and the Bullet Punch, which is going to be really great. But it really sucks that I lost my Steelix, because now Vivillon is an even bigger issue. This Weezing's not going to be taking chip damage, and this Pinsir could still prove to be a giant problem. So he's going to bring the Weezing. Obviously, I don't want to get burned, so I hard switch directly into my Gastrodon, as he's going to make what I would call an odd series of plays. He's going to stay in and just spam Sludge Bomb. The only thing that I can think of that he was trying to do was force me to recover so he could get a free switch into Vivillon like he tries to do here. But as you saw there, I did predict correctly, and I'm able to catch the incoming Vivillon. Unfortunately though, I don't burn him, as I predict him to go for the Sleep Powder. I bring in my Shift Tree, and then I really do not want him being able to get a free KO, so I'm gonna go for the Sucker Punch. Even if he did want to go for the Quiver Dance, I'm not really too concerned, because I do have my Rotom. So here he is going to be able to just Sludge Bomb or burn anything I want to switch in, bar my Gastrodon, which is already burned. So I was really hoping that he wouldn't want to pull a double switch into Vivillon here, which luckily does not happen. And now we're back in the earlier scenario where it's like, what do? I can spam Scald, or I can just recover. I really don't want to give Vivillon a free switch in, so every time I make a move here, I'm really trying to make the correct play. And luckily I do get pretty lucky with my correct series of plays here, although like I said, I did misplay quite a bit, because Archeops would have been able to rip his team apart if I had played my Steelix better and I was able to get up rocks. So yeah, as you can see here, this is kind of dragging out a bit, because I don't really have a good way to deal with this Weezing, and I don't want anything to be switched into a Sludge Bomb or to a potential Will-O-Wisp. But because he keeps spamming Pain Split, I am going to eventually switch into my Shift Tree, which I do right here, predicting him to go for Pain Split, because I know he's not going to get too much HP, and now he has no switch-ins to my Shift Tree. So his best play to do here would be to just fodder off this Weezing, because he still has use for his other 4 Mons, as I'm going to be able to finally get rid of this giant nuisance. However though, he still has a Gastrodon in the back, and I make a really dumb play here, and I go straight for the Sucker Punch. In hindsight, I guess it's not that bad of a play, but if he did substitute here, that probably would have been game. Sub SD Pinsir probably would have been able to rip my team apart. Luckily though, I'm pretty sure he turns out to be Scarfed. I didn't ask him, he didn't tell me, but he doesn't switch up moves anytime he does bring in Pinsir. So yeah, I managed to get off a pretty good chunk of damage as he knocks me out with the X-Scissor, plus he does have Moxie as well. And even if he is Moxie at +1, he can maybe bring me down below defeatist, but he's still gonna get knocked out by my acrobatics. And if he does switch out, he doesn't have a safe switch into my Archeops. And as long as I don't get 2 low damage rolls on Gastrodon, I should be able to knock him out with 2 acrobatics if he does want to switch it in. And that is if he is a physically defensive Gastrodon. So he's actually just going to sack off his Clay Doll, which is absolutely amazing for me. Unfortunately though, I can't get rid of rocks anymore, as he does bring in the Gastrodon. I don't want to get burned by the Scald, so I'm going to U-turn into my own Gastrodon as he ends up going for his own Scald. And here I was actually very close to going straight for the Scald, thinking that he would want to switch into Vivian, but I didn't want to risk him potentially having Earth Power, and then me giving him a +1 special attack boost would be really bad for me. But he ends up bringing in the Pinsir, and I make a really dumb play here and I switch out. I don't really know why. I guess it was to not give his Vivian a free switch in. If anything, I think I should have just stayed in. Yes, his Vivian does have Giga Drain, but then I could have just brought in my Hariyama, faked out, gauge to see how much damage it did, and it did about 26%. Fun fact, that is absolute minimum damage, by the way, which happens again later in the battle. So I do get min damage here, no big deal, but I do manage to do a pretty solid amount of damage to this Vivian. Now here, what he can do is go for Sleep Powder, he could Quiver Dance, or he could Giga Drain, predicting me to want to bring in my Gastrodon. And I do expect him to most likely just want to go for Sleep Powder, because Vivian can sweep through my entire team after one Quiver Dance, especially after rocks, because my Archeops will be at about 50%. So a Giga Drain at +1, I'm pretty sure does knock out Archeops at 50%, if I'm not mistaken. So I do make a kind of risky play here right into my Gastrodon, as he does fall for the bait, and I switch it in on the Sleep Powder. And here I'm going to predict him to want to go for the Giga Drain now, and I'm going to switch into my Hariyama. This way I can now get off an extra bit of damage with Fake Out. However though, I really don't want to risk Bullet Punch not knocking him out, knowing my luck I'll get absolute min damage. So here I'm just going to switch into my Gastrodon, and then I'm going to fodder it off, expecting him to go for Hurricane, wanting me to bring in Hariyama, but that is not the case, as I can now bring in my Archeops. I will be able to go for the Acrobatics, and I do 48% to this Gastrodon. So after leftovers, he's going to be at 45%, and excuse what I said earlier, I thought that he was below 90%, not at 100%. So a 100% max defense, max HP Gastrodon can take 2 acrobatics from Archeops without Stealth Rock's damage. So after this acrobatics, as long as I don't get absolute minimum damage, I need to get a mid to high damage roll in order to knock this Gastrodon out and pretty much just win the game with Archeops. But of course, I get absolute min damage. He lives on 2%, goes for the recover, and I'm just sitting here clicking acrobatics, honestly just hoping to get a crit, or hoping that he messes up and I can bring him down to a range where my Shadow Ball will knock him out, or my Hariyama's Close Combat will knock him out. Unfortunately though, that's not going to be the case, as I go for one final acrobatics here. He knocks me out with the Scald. Now, it should have clicked in my mind that he was physically defensive Gastrodon. So what I could have done here was brought in my Rotom and just gone for the Shadow Ball to see how much damage it did. Another reason I didn't bring in Rotom is because if I tricked right away, if his Vivian got up 2 Quiver Dances somehow, he could still sweep me. Plus, not to mention that if he did switch into Vivian and I did trick that, this Gastrodon can still beat my last 2 Mons on its own, and that would not be good for me at all. So, and I bring in my Hariyama, and I'm gonna go for the Fake Out, and then I'm gonna go for Knockoff. If anything, I should have really just gone for Close Combat. At the amount of speed that he was at, I think a high max damage roll would have been able to knock him out, but I end up misplaying, and I go for the Knockoff, as he's going to be able to recover. And now I'm sitting here thinking, well, I've lost, but I get a little bit lucky there, and I'm able to get a crit with the Close Combat as he goes for the Scald. And now with me being able to knock out Gastrodon, odds of me winning have come back into my favor. So what I have to do here is switch into my Rotom and basically use it as sleep fodder and hope that if he does Giga Drain me, he doesn't get brought back up to a range where Bullet Punch plus Fake Out, if they are low rolls, will fail to knock him out. Thankfully though, he's below 40%, so even if I did get absolute low damage with Fake Out and Bullet Punch, the amounts of damage combined together, is still like 54%. So it was still kind of guaranteed that I was gonna knock him out, but that's just what I was thinking at the time of the battle. But yeah, it did turn out to be a really close and intense game near the end. Again, if I had played better, it wouldn't have turned out to be as good as it really was, but this is kind of a little bit of a learning experience because I do still have a ways to go to learn the NU tier like I knew it before. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this little lengthy battle. Hopefully y'all had a good week and y'all have a good weekend. And yeah, if you somehow stuck around for this, then thank you all for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow, if not then the day after. So yeah, later everybody.